Yeah, and on Friday I watched this movie, Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Holy fucking shit, I had never seen it before. Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. Jesus Christ, it tripped me the fuck out. It blew my mind, man. It blew my fucking mind. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. So, spoiler alert, I'm going to recap the movie. Spoiler alert for Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise's best movie by far. So what happened was, Tom Cruise is this doctor, right? Doctor, married to Nicole Kidman, they have a kid. There's this crazy scene in the bedroom, right, where they smoke a little weed. They go to this party and say, hi, what up, you don't really know what's going on. Shake a bunch of people's hands, black tie. That's how the movie kind of starts, and you're like, I don't really know what's going on, because it doesn't really give you any kind of backstory on these people. They go home, they smoke a joint, right? She's in like a tank top and underwear. I don't remember what he was wearing. But they put their daughter to sleep and spark up the weed, smoking on that loud, that fire, that diesel, that gas. And they blow some trees and put something in the air in that bedroom. And then she says, who were those two girls that were talking to you at the party? Because there were these two hot little girls who were talking to him because he's a doctor, and they were like, yo, we want to fuck. Let's go to this other room to fuck. And he's like, ooh, I don't know about that. Actually, he was like, yeah, let's go, and then he got interrupted on the way. So he's like, fuck. But then she was like, who are those two women? And he was like, oh, it doesn't matter, just two bitches. Who was that guy that was talking to you? And she was like, oh, nobody. And he's like, all guys want to fuck. And she's like, oh, so by that rule, then what were you doing with those two girls? She asked him again. And he was like, that was different. I'm married to you. And she was like, there was this one time back in the day when we were on vacation, and I saw this Navy man. And when we fucked that night, I was thinking of the Navy man. So he was like, what the fuck? And it was this crazy scene in this bedroom of them having this conversation. And then he got a phone call. Someone died. He's got to go. So he goes over to somebody else's house, and there's this dead dude in the bed. And then all of a sudden, his daughter, who's Tom Cruise's age, kisses him. And she's like, I've always loved you. And he's like, I don't even know you. And then he leaves that place, and he's walking home to go back to his wife, Nicole Kidman. And on the way, he gets approached by this prostitute. And this prostitute's like, hey, we can just go in my house. It's right here. It'll be easy. $150. And he's like, okay. Goes into her house, kisses her. Then his wife calls him on his cell phone, and she's like, when you come home? And he's like, oh, it's probably a couple of hours. I'm still grieving with the family. And she's like, all right, peace. Hangs up the phone. Then he's like, listen, I can't fuck you, to the prostitute. And he gives her $150 anyway because he's a gentleman. And she's like, all right, bye, peace out. He leaves, walking down the street, and he sees this cafe or whatever, this theater, the Sinatra Theater or the Santra Theater. And he's like, whoa, what the fuck's up with this? He goes in and he sees his buddy playing the piano that he knew from way back in the day, like medical school. And he orders a drink, a beer, and the guy finishes piano set at the bar. It's like this classy jazz bar in New York. I think it's New York. It should be New York. And then the guy's done in the piano player. He's like, yo, what up, Nick? And Nick's like, oh, hey, Nick Nightingale. Nick Nightingale's like, hey, Tom Cruise, I haven't seen you in forever. He sits down, orders a drink. And Tom Cruise is like, so you're doing this. You flunked out of medical school. Now you're playing piano. And Nick Nightingale's like, yeah, my family lives in Seattle, but I do this here in New York. And then he's like, I actually have a gig I have to play later tonight. And Tom Cruise is like, what, you're playing a gig later tonight? He's like, yeah, at 2 a.m. But get this, I don't know the location yet. And Tom Cruise is like, what? And Nick Nightingale's like, yeah, it's weird, man. They call me an hour before the show, and they tell me what the address is. And Tom Cruise is like, get the fuck out. And he's like, get this, Tom Cruise, I play blindfolded. And Tom Cruise is like, blindfolded? Are you kidding me? And Nick Nightingale's like, last time the blindfold wasn't on so well. I saw what was going on, and let me tell you, the women, holy fuck, the women. And then his phone rings. He answers it. He writes a word down on a piece of paper, on a napkin that Tom Cruise holds for him because it's hard to write with one hand on a napkin because it moves around and shit. So then Tom Cruise grabs them a napkin and looks at it, and it says Fidelio. 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 So then Tom Cruise is like, okay. And then Nick Nightingale's like, I gotta go. And Tom Cruise is like, he's like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna let you leave here without you taking me with you because I want to see these bitches. Because he's been getting horned up all night because he's still thinking about his wife, thinking about the Italian, and he's like, how could she think about the Italian when she's with me? I'm perfect. I'm Tom Cruise. And then he had the kiss from the dead the dead guy's daughter. Then he had the prostitute incident, and it's kind of been on his mind. So he's like, I gotta go, man. I gotta fucking bust a nut before I go home, man. This nut's gotta go. I gotta blow this fucking load, man. He's all fired up. He's like, where are we going, Nick Nightingale? And Nick Nightingale's like, yo, I can't take you, man. And then Tom Cruise is like, listen, I already have the passcode. Just tell me the address. The passcode's Fidelio. And then all of a sudden it cuts to, obviously Nick Nightingale told him he needed a costume and a mask. So he's at this costume and mask dude's house in the middle of the night, knocking on the door. Boom, boom, boom. And then the guy answers the door. He's like, listen, I need a costume and a mask. I need like a tux and a cloak and a mask. The guy gives it to him, rents it to him. And then he takes a taxi to this mansion up in the hills of New York City, like outskirts of town or whatever. And he tells the cab driver, like, I'll give you $100 to fucking stay here, keep the cab running, and I might be back in 10 minutes, I could be back in a couple hours. He goes to the gate, tells the dude the password, Fidelio, lets him in the building. He goes inside, and there's these, all these motherfuckers in black cloaks standing in a circle, right, wearing masks. And there's a guy in the middle of the circle with a red cloak wearing a mask. And there's candles everywhere, this big-ass mansion. And the guy's pounding his staff on the floor. Boom! 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 And he has like this little chain thing that he's swinging that has a little smoky ball at the end. And there's 8 bitches with masks on around him. So he goes over to each one of the bitches and like hovers the smoke around them. And then the girl kisses the next girl. Then he goes and hovers the smoke around her. She kisses the next girl. He hovers the smoke around her. Very creepy. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because it's like, I didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's a trippy aspect of a movie that you haven't seen before. Because when you're watching a movie before, you can kind of like relax and pay, and like not, and kind of half-ass pay attention and just like analyze it because you already know what's coming next. But when you don't know what's coming next, you're like, what the fuck are they going to do? And then one of each of the 8 girls go up, and it's kind of like a strip club where the girl walks over and like they go in like you know, like they ask you, like they proposition dude. So one girl goes and grabs a masked, cloaked dude and takes him off to the other room. Then one girl comes over to Tom Cruise and she's like, what up, let's go. And he grabs her hand and they walk into the other room and she's like, you're in grave danger, you gotta get the fuck out. And then he's like, wait, what are you talking about, bitch? I just want to fuck. And she's like, you're in grave danger, you gotta go, you're gonna die. And then he like ditches her and starts walking through this mansion, and everyone's fucking. Everyone's wearing masks, but nobody has any fucking cloaks or robes on, and they're all just fucking each other. Like dudes fucking dudes, girls fucking girls, guys fucking girls, and there's just this massive orgy going on over this huge mansion, and he's walking around like, what the fuck? I just want to fuck. Can I fuck somebody? And then the guards grab him, and they're like, yo, you gotta come with us. Your cab driver wants to talk to you. And he's like, fuck my cab driver. And they lead him into this room where the old red cloaked dude is standing there with a fucking staff, and he's like, what's the password? And Tom Cruise is like, Fidelio. And he's like, not the gate password, the password to the house, bitch. And Tom Cruise is like, fuck, I don't know the password to the house. And he's like, take your fucking mask off. And Tom Cruise takes his mask off, and then he's like, you have seen shit that you are not allowed to see, yo. And he's like, take your fucking clothes off now. And Tom Cruise is like, wait, what? I don't want to take my clothes off, show you my fucking dick, I just want to fuck. And he's like, take your fucking clothes off. So Tom Cruise is standing there, and he doesn't know what to do. And then the original girl that propositioned him comes through, and she's like, take me instead. Like, I will take his place. And the old red dude's like, do you know what's gonna happen to you if you take his place? And she's like, yeah. So then the old red dude's like, all right, Tom Cruise, get the fuck out and don't tell anybody what you've seen or we'll kill your family. And Tom Cruise is like, wait, what? What are you gonna do to this girl? And the old red dude's like, get the fuck out. So then Tom Cruise gets out, goes down to his cab dude, and just gets the fuck out of there, right? And then the next day he wakes up and he's like, what the fuck happened last night? Like, this seems like a dream. And then he spends the rest of the movie trying to figure out what the fuck happened. But he opens the paper the next day and it's like, ex-beauty queen found overdose. And it was like the girl from the party. And he was like, what? So then the rest of the movie he's just trying to figure out what happened, because he's like, that was crazy, yo. Crazy. And it ends crazy. And it's just a completely insane movie. And I was like, what? Blew my fucking mind, man. I don't know what was going on. Anyway, I want to get a fucking dog. That's what I'm about. I'm about that canine life right now.